What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is Along the River of Flesh by Kristopher Triana. I rated this book 4 stars, and it's the second book in the Gone to See the Riverman series. Basically, it's a duology. I don't think he's writing a third book, and I don't want a third book. That sounds mean, but I think the duology says it all. I rated the first book 4 stars too. And a solid splatterpunk extreme horror duology. And because of that, I recommend this book only to certain people because both books are a lot. Okay. If you have any concerns about this book, please look into the content warnings on Goodreads because, yeah, I can't mention most of what happens in this book or even in the first book because I don't want to get reported. It's that bad. Before getting into the review, let me share where we are at. Edmund Cox has escaped from prison because he's a crazy serial killer. And he is setting off to find the Riverman, who's basically the devil. Keith Drakeson, Gary Chapman, and a mysterious woman are set on finding Edmund for various reasons, while carrying their own very dark secrets, some more worse than others. The only character I liked and related to was Gary. He's not a bad guy at all. I feel bad for him, and I won't go into detail why because that's a huge spoiler, but everyone else is complete and utter trash. So no thanks to those characters. Y'all can just die. Some of them got what they deserved. And that was basically the same vibe for the first book, though Gary wasn't involved in the first book. So all the main and side characters sucked, minus the victims, of course, and Gary didn't suck as well. I think he was just caught up in this situation. The first book main character is through the eyes of Lori and Edmund. And Lori, I'm not gonna spoil the first book, but she's kind of sorta in the second book. In a different way though, in a real different way. And she sucks too. So what happened to her? I don't care. There's a lot of, oh wow, a horrible person died. Okay. It kind of just happens with extreme horror, but if this surprises you, I don't think you read enough extreme horror or splatterpunk, so surprise, I don't care about any of these characters in the first book or the second book. I only care about Gary. I feel bad for Gary. Now, moving on, because I talked a little bit too much about that particular topic. In both books, there's graphic, I'm talking graphic, torture, murder, and rape scenes and other things I won't say so I don't get flagged. Like I said, extreme horror. Extreme caution. I thought the story was solid, of course, and I for sure hated all the characters I needed to hate, and I felt for the characters that the author wants you to feel for. So story development and even character development was solid, though 2 things held me back from giving it 5 stars. The first reason, I'm tired of the trope, which isn't just seen in horror books, but it's overused in horror film and TV overall. So this isn't a dig at the author. It's very popular and it has been for decades. It's the trope that the locals are all inbred and they bark at each other, shit and piss themselves, barely have clothes on. They are so developmentally challenged because of the inbreeding that they're like acting 5 years old to 12 years old. And then also connecting to that, inbreeding serial killers. Come on. How many times are we going to use that trope? When you put a book in the South. I'm just tired of it, honestly. Let's find another trope because, like I said, I keep seeing this all over the place. We can do something more original. really. Like, it shouldn't be that we place a story in the South and that means that there's some type of inbreeding and y'all are barking at each other. Come on, come on. The other issue was so many points of view. It got up to 6 or 7 and I lost count. Thankfully, it is not in first person, or else I would have thrown that book across the room. Okay. So props to the author for knowing if you're going to write that many points of view in such a short book, because it's less than 250 pages, you got to make it third person. However, I really don't know if all of those points of views, especially the victims' points of views, were that needed for this particular story. I don't think we need to have the victims' points of view and then in the next chapter, Edmund's tearing them apart and eating them on his merry way to see the Riverman. That happened a couple times. Do we need that? I don't think so. I don't think that moved the story. It's not me not wanting to see the victim's point of view. It takes a lot for me to be uncomfortable. It's not that. It's that I just don't think that those scenes were needed in the eyes of victims that happened upon Edmund on his journey to see the Riverman. We already know that Edmund is crazy, that he, no matter what, really, he stumbles upon people, he's going to at least kill them, if not torture them slowly, SA them, and then eat them. Like, we know. It's obviously horrible, and we can picture the victims and what they're going through. Or maybe horror readers can't, so I'm not sure on that, but I am going to say those points of view at least did not need to be there. Then we go down to 4 points of view. So we're gonna say the mysterious woman, Edmund, Keith, and Gary. That's still a lot of people. I don't know if we needed the mysterious girl. And she plays a huge part. She does. But I don't think that particularly added much, because you can get her vibe and what is going on by the other characters. If we're going for more graphic scenes, because this is an extreme horror novel, I also don't think that's particularly needed, though I know a lot of splatterpunk and extreme horror readers want as many graphic scenes as possible. However, you are still writing a story, and in a messed up way, but like in a good way, because horror in all its forms is art. You're creating a work of art. What is needed versus what a reader wants. It's hard. It can definitely be hard to figure that out, but I definitely don't think that the victims' points of view of them being torn apart and killed was needed. Highly debatable on that mysterious woman's point of view. I think if it was just those 3 men, it would have been way more solid. And does that mean that the story is shorter regarding page count? Yeah. However, I think you could have expanded even more on the characters, including Edmund, but especially Keith and Gary. I think at the end there was a little bit of not a shock, but a confusion on my part to his dark secrets at the end. It was slightly mentioned that he was not a good person. That's fine. But then to make it so drastically horrible, where is that in the beginning, and even where is that in the middle? I wanted a little bit more hints, more something for Keith. He deserved what he got. That's a slight spoiler, but he deserved what he got. However, is it believable? I do prefer the first book over the second book, but I think it's solid even if the trope that's used heavily in this book bothers me, and I think the many points of views were a bit too much. I also know lots of people love multiple points of views and they want to see the victims being tortured. Yeah, I mean, it's horror. So to each their own. as usual with art, because it is subjective, I'm just looking at not just as a reader, but also as a writer. And I just wanted it a little more fleshed out, take out the certain points of views that didn't necessarily move the story forward. And I think that could have been a 5-star book, but 4 stars for the first and second book, we love to see it. Thank you so much for watching my book review of Along the River of Flesh by Kristopher Triana. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.